Hi, everyone. So as I said in class this morning, I'd like to spend just a little bit of time in this video explaining about the grade structure as I take over from Dr. Baptiste and how that's going to work moving forward. I hope this is clear as we go through this, but please, if it is not and something doesn't make sense, please do reach out to me. I thought I'd do this on video so you have it as a frame of reference. It also saves us time having to do it in the class. So in terms of the grades, right, moving forward in this class, we've got, as was originally laid out, we've got 5 quizzes and 5 articles. Those still stay in place, right? The quizzes, the dates are all on the schedule. They are correct. And please make sure that you do those. They really help your grade. They're critical in your grade. Each quiz and each article review counts 1%, right? So there's 10% here up for grabs for doing work as you go through the semester. Dr. Baptiste will be grading the articles, and the quizzes are self-graded. So that should be, I think that should be self-explanatory. Lab, of course, counts 25%. Please make sure that you're keeping up with lab and that you're doing well in that. That's an important component. And then there are 3 exams that each count 21.67%. That's, I know that seems like a little odd number, but all that adds up to 100%. So 1/4 of your grade is lab. You get 10% through these assignments and quizzes, and then essentially your exams total 65%. I don't set cumulative finals. The final in this class will not be cumulative. So I hope that helps. I've always believed in, you know, lecturing on some material, setting an exam, and then moving on from there. Just as a reminder, there are 2 extra credit percentage points out there for the ozone article and the ozone video that was put up by Dr. Baptiste, and she will review those as well. Okay. So a couple, and I use these slides and I go through the same presentation for all of my other classes. I often get asked, okay, so how do you work your grade system, and do you curve, and is there extra credit and all of that? So I never offer extra credit in any of my classes. And there's a specific reason for that, right? And I don't necessarily curve in any classes. Having said that, we did add a curve to the first exam for obvious reasons, right? I don't think we need to go into those. There seemed to be a disconnect between questions in the exam and exactly what was covered in class. That's water under the bridge, and I would like to move on from there. So there has been a curve applied to that first exam, just to make sure that there is really fairness and equity across all of these sections, the ones that I'm teaching, the ones that another faculty member in the department is teaching. We would never want to see one class that is significantly outside of that sort of general cluster of grades. And so the grades that you see entered onto D2Well have that curve incorporated into them. So here's what I do. At the end of the semester, right, I will take your quizzes, I'll take your grades for your articles, your lab grade, and your 3 exam grades. And I add them all up, right? And I will come up with a number. And what I do when I've got that number is I rank them from highest to lowest, right? And so this is actually my grade distribution from a couple of semesters ago. And here is the highest one at the top, right? So that was 98.8 or something like that. And this is the cumulative curve for all the grades down to the lowest one, which is down here, right? So there's a cumulative grade distribution on this diagram. So let me just go ahead and clear all that text, and then I'll explain precisely what I do from here. If you end up in one of the traditional grade brackets, right? So let's say you're in, 80 to 89.99, then, you'll obviously be in the Bs. You can never drop down to a lower grade. So in other words, the baseline is always set. But this is the reason why I don't offer extra credit and why I do it this way. If you are at 79.98 or 89.94 or anything like that, that does not automatically assign you to a B, right? Because to me, that is a little arbitrary. If you are a decimal point away from a letter grade, what that really comes down to is one multiple choice question on an exam. That doesn't, I don't know, that has never really felt right to me, right? That you would give someone a B versus an A based on one question spread across an entire semester. So what I do, and the reason why I do this cumulative curve, is I look for statistical breaks in the grade distribution, right? So here is a statistical break for this grade distribution right here, and I've circled this in red so I won't scribble on it with my annotating tool, right? As we come down from the hundreds, there was a little statistical break here. There was a jump here. I think it was between 95 and 93.7, but that's all in the A's. That's all in the A's. But there was a statistical jump here, right, between 88.2 and 87.4. That was a statistically significant break. And so for this grade distribution, I put the A's at 88.2, that was the A's and above, and the B's came in here at 87.4, and then below, right? It was the same as the B's and the C's. The B's and the C's were actually this little break over here that I'm moving the mouse around, and that was 77.1. So the bottom line is this helps you, right? Because the boundary between two grades is never the somewhat arbitrary 89.99 or 79.99. It's always a bit lower than that, and sometimes it can go quite a bit lower than that. So I'm looking for meaningful statistical grade clustering at the end of the semester. So if you're sitting on a grade and you're averaging something like, I don't know, 87.1 going into the final, and you think, well, it's mathematically impossible for me to get an A. That's not necessarily true at all, right? You still may get an A. You may get an A if you do very well on the final, but you still may get an A even if you just get an 87 or an 88 on the final, because you will fall into that statistical cluster. So that's how I do your grades. Please make sure that you are comfortable with that. And if it doesn't really make sense to you, then I'm happy to explain it in person. But at the end of the day, it does help you. I will obviously look at your first exam grades relative to the ones that I set, exam number 2 and exam number 3, and there'll be a little bit more flexibility built in on that. Succeeding in my class, certainly from here on out, is being there, right? For those of you who have decided just not to come to class, I can't help you, right? Succeed in this course, because we will be covering things in class that are very specific to that material. And as you probably have already gathered from my couple of lectures, I'll show you a map and say, okay, this is really important. I'm going to show you this map or ask you about this in exam number 2. So being there is really, really critical, right? Study guides, I will be putting out my study guide online early next week. So you'll get that a week ahead of time. I'll also open up the quizzes so you can review the quiz questions 24 hours before your exam. So your first exam is on the 14th of November. So it's Monday week. So you've got some time here. So on the Sunday morning, I'll open up the quizzes so you can review those as well. And I'll also make sure I'm available prior to the exam so you can ask questions. Please do come and see me. I know this is a little different, taking over in week 9, and I haven't had an opportunity to build up that rapport with you yet. I hope that changes pretty quickly. But as I said, when I first got together, I cannot emphasize enough that I operate an open door policy here. So please email me and come on by. I will say my calendar is incredibly busy given the number of courses I'm teaching and all my other responsibilities, but I will find a way to meet with you. Communication is absolutely the key in succeeding in this class. I can't, I'm not a mind reader, so I can't predict what's going on with you and the type of help that you may need. So that's just a quick overview of how I do grades. I thought I would explain that in a video so you have that for reference. And I will see you on Monday. Have a great weekend.